Wait a minute. This isn't my world. Disappointed! Alright, so we're back. And that was a little bit awkward there at the end, especially if you don't get the reference. Anyway, so we're back and we're going to do a tutorial on a run cycle, the walk cycle, and maybe a little jump in there. Get it all hopping and popping. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this run cycle that I've made here with the character that you've created. So far we've rigged our character, the face and the body. So assuming that you've already rigged your character, bring up, let's go ahead and just focus on, we can actually probably hide, let's go ahead and shy these layers here. That way you're not confused. The master for now. And we'll leave our shoulders, torso, hands, and feet in our head. Let's get rid of this axe. Okay, so this is all we're seeing here. I'm going to go by sections, so I'm going to cover the feet first. I find it's easy to start with the feet first, and then you can kind of make the tweaks later on as you go. So right now, we are just covering 1 second's worth is our run cycle. So from beginning, let's go ahead and bring down our keyframes. And so what you need to do is make sure that you make keyframes at the beginning. Make your run cycle. I like to start off with 1 foot, like it just planted on the ground in the front, and then in the back it's raised and getting ready to swing forward. So it's kind of like kicking off. And so I'll start by making these keyframes, copying them, and pasting them here at the 1 second mark. And then at the 12-second mark, so the halfway point, depending on how long your cycle is, at the halfway point, do the opposite. So you're going to bring the leg, which is his left leg. I have it labeled the right foot. You're going to bring that in the middle down to where it would touch the ground, and the opposite foot, bring it back. Now it sounds easy, but it's this in-between stuff that kind of gets a little difficult. So let's go ahead and start focus on this right foot. So at the beginning I have it, and you can see here the path that it's taking. If you make note of that, that kind of helps you, that will help you form your own run cycle. So his foot swings up forward and out, and then down. And I'm also adjusting the rotation of the foot as well. So this is where it's at its frontmost position, and then down, and then that's when we meet our halfway. So if you think of it like that, it's actually pretty quick once you get going. And then let's continue on, and we have his foot planted on the ground, and it's sliding back as if it's planted on the ground and actually making contact. And then until he pushes off with that foot, and then brings it up, and as if he's kicking it back, using his momentum as moving forward and launching up. So he's mid-air. This section, that's the key thing with the run cycle, is there's going to be a moment when you're not going to be making contact with the ground, and that's fine. So let's go ahead and look. And we could probably adjust a little bit, looking at it now. His foot swings a little bit too fast, and you can see with the keyframes here. So let's go ahead and go ahead and put it there, and we're going to copy and make sure that we paste it at the end, because that is at the beginning of our run cycle. And so now, you can see you kind of want these the inner keyframes to be somewhat similar. So like back here, this might be a little too fast. And there we go. We're kind of evening out these keyframes. You can also, if you want to, I guess, smooth out these keyframes, go in and right click on one and go to keyframe interpolation. And you're going to go to the spatial interpolation and change it from linear to Bezier and hit OK. And what this does, and I'm on the wrong keyframe here, but you can see that it's going to give me handles, and I can kind of smooth out the way that this leg goes forward. So let's start it right here. Right here is where I don't really like how much it's pointy. So I'm going to right click on it, and like I said, let's actually right click on it and go to keyframe interpolation, go to Bezier, and there we go. We can smooth out that. Cool. Okay, so that for the most part is our leg portion of the run cycle. So let's go ahead and go up to the hands. The rest of this stuff is much easier. As you can see, the hands are just moving forward, and they're switching positions at the halfway and then back to the original position. I have them, there's a keyframe in between at the halfway, or at the quarter mark almost with this one, where I have the hand going down a little bit more. I felt when it was a straight keyframe, a straight draw between it, it looked a little funky, so you might have to mess with yours a little bit until you get something that you're happy with. And let's go back up to the torso. The torso is a little bit different. There are keyframes at the beginning, the same keyframe at the beginning and the end and the middle. Actually, yes, all three of these keyframes are the same. They're at the same position. It's this one keyframe that's say maybe at the third mark in between the first and second keyframe, and the reason why it's not, you know, in between is because when he's pushing off with the run cycle, he's lifting up his torso higher because he's midair. So it's almost like it's a small jump when you think about it. So it's going to happen faster because he's pushing off faster, and then it's a slow decline to where he was originally. And then you just repeat that in the second half. The shoulders, I just made a little bit of an adjustment. So like the torso, the first, the middle, and the last keyframe are all the same position. It's these two in between here that I just moved very slightly. That way there was a bit of movement in his chest. It helps break up the, if it looks kind of robotic, it helps to bring in just a little bit of movement. I find that kind of sells the run. If we take a look at our head, it's the same kind of scheme as our torso. So let's look at our torso. The keyframes line up the same, and all I did is adjust the rotation just a little bit so that his head rotates kind of like it bounces with the movement of his torso. And so there you have it. You have the run. And with that, let's go ahead and take a look at our next cycle, and that's the walk cycle. This is once you've done the run, you can kind of you're kind of a big deal. So let's go ahead and do the same thing that we did and hide these layers that we don't need to see. Nope, nope, and no. Okay, so we have those same layers, and let's go ahead and take a look at the feet, and I'll kind of skim through this because you can kind of get a sense now that you've seen the run. It's a little bit different, a little bit more low-key. If we take a look at the keyframes of his right foot here, you can kind of see how it makes a sort of rhombus looking dealy thing where he lifts his back foot up, rotation, brings it forward, and slides along the ground, and that is our walk cycle. Do the same thing with, it's almost opposite with the front foot. And boom, you have your feet moving. And now let's take a look at the hands. Hands are in the same fashion as the run, just a little bit more straight and not as like he's in a hurry, so it's a little bit more low-key movement. Same way with the torso, it's moving a little bit up and down. Up when he's moving up forward, and then back down when he's rested on, both feet are planted on the ground, and then up. So let's go ahead and look at the shoulders. Shoulders the same way as the run cycle, just moving a little bit, and his head rotating just a small amount. And there you have the walk cycle, looking good. All right, so let's head on over to our hop. Okay, for this one, I've extended the keyframes up to 2 seconds, and what I actually did is I took my run cycle and I just duplicated the composition. So if we take a look, let's go ahead and hide these layers again. I should have done this prior, but you're gonna have to put up with it. Oh, let's undo that master. We're gonna keep the master out. Hands, shoulder, torso, and get rid of that axe. Okay, so let's go ahead and take just a look at all these keyframes. Oh my goodness, it's crazy. I know what you're thinking. What I did is I took my 1 second cycle and I just duplicated each layer and just duplicated the keyframes. So let's go back to our run cycle, and let's just say I've got my foot, and I hit U and bring down all the keyframes that are associated with this layer. And if I hit Control C and then go up to the 1 second mark and hit Control V, I've just duplicated those keyframes. So that would continue that walk cycle, or that run cycle. So you do that with each of these layers, and you can actually just do it once. That way we can kind of go over this hop. So once you've done that, let's go ahead and since the shoulders, we're not going to concentrate too much on these just yet. The hands can stay. Let's just focus on first the jump on the feet. So if we're looking at our feet, close our head. If we're looking at our feet, I like to find the spot right before he would launch off. So if you're getting ready to jump, you usually kind of lower yourself and spring your leg so that it can flex and lift you up into the air. So I find the spot where, let's take a look at this foot here, since this is the foot on the ground. He bends down, and what is actually moving is just the torso. So let's look at our torso here. And you're going to be making some extra keyframes in here. So essentially, I'm lowering his torso, And using the master here, he's at his normal length, and I've just raised the master up to where it's mid-stride, and then lower it back down to its original position when this foot makes contact with the ground. So boom, and then he continues the cycle. And then adjust your foot position so that when it's in midair, maybe he needs to hop over something, so you need to raise maybe the foot up higher, and the back leg maybe is out a little bit more because he's kind of like leaping. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. And what I'm actually going to do is give you guys this project, and you can take a look at each cycle and kind of like break it down and do whatever you want with me. Kind of weird, but it feels right. So in this next part, we're going to track our characters on some ground and, you know, build a little environment around them, maybe mess with the camera, kind of implement our actions into, you know, a real scenario. So stay tuned for the next part in this series. If you haven't already, subscribe. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter or whatever. Chat at me. Take a look at the project. Look in the description below. I'll have the link where you can find it. And I'll see you on the next episode.